Elliotte Friedman. Thank you, sir, for giving us the juiciest Vancouver Canucks scoop of the day, because on the latest episode of the 32 Thoughts podcast, a weekend that set the tone, there were a whole bunch of interesting comments made by Friedge in regards to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, of course, it's the weekend that set the tone over here. There's a bunch of conversation about the playoffs, too. So if you want to dive into all of what happened between Tampa Bay and Montreal, Buffalo, Boston, Utah, Vegas, and whatnot, it's all here. Lots of playoff hockey to dive into, and more playoff hockey starting out today. Thank you, Edmonton and Anaheim. But the fellas also touched up on the Toronto Maple Leafs, Predators, and Canucks front office vacancies. With that said, there was a brilliant post on the R Canucks subreddit by sarcastic __, who dives into all of what Friedman talked about. This is essentially a Canucks news summary on the R Canucks subreddit, so thank you, Sarcastic, for giving us the scoop in a readable text format. It's a lot easier for us to follow along. Take a look at this. From today's 32 Thoughts, whoever wins the Vancouver Canucks GM job will be running hockey ops, and the Canucks are interested in someone who has gone through a rebuild. That last part shouldn't be all too surprising. Oh, you have experience building a team from the ground up? Well, come on down to Vancouver. We can use that experience to help build this team from the ground up. But that first part actually is sort of new. Whoever gets that GM job will be running the hockey ops department as well. Take a look at these notes. It was pretty clear to anyone listening that Jim Rutherford will not be around much longer, and that whoever wins the GM job will run hockey ops. Now, that's no slight on Jim Rutherford. The guy is 77 years old, and look, quite frankly, he speaks really well still for a guy in his late 70s. You can tell that he is a smart individual, you can tell that he is articulate, and you can tell that he wants to succeed at whatever it is that he does. But you can't beat Mother Time. He's 77, and there is not going to be an extended rebuild that Vancouver goes through that takes 5, 6, 7 years that Jim Rutherford is going to be a part of. It's just not really plausible. So even Friedman is acknowledging, yeah, he's not going to be around much longer, but this does align with the sentiment we had heard from other Canucks reporting that says that Jim Rutherford does not want to leave the Vancouver Canucks in a terrible spot. Like, oh, he shows up, totally torches the team, chooses the wrong guy by picking Miller over Horvat, chooses the wrong guy by signing Pettersson long-term, and then handles the Quinn Hughes trade. I mean, Jim Rutherford had his fingerprints all over the past few years' worth of Vancouver Canucks decision-making. And at some point, you're going to have to move on from that. Friedman talked about how this is the first time this ownership group didn't have a built-in plan on who runs the organization next. They had Gillis in mind when they fired Nonis. They had Linden ready when Gillis was fired, and Rutherford was here when Benning was fired. So, for the first time, it seems like the ownership group actually has to conduct a search, and they can't just rely on their intuition to pick up whomever it is available post-GM firing here. I didn't actually know this, that they had Gillis already in the back of their minds when they got Nonis out. They wanted Linden already, and then they wanted Rutherford. He was already here. I didn't know that, so big things are changing up when it comes to Vancouver's hiring process, no? Friedman then draws parallels between how the Leafs refused interviews for Kyle Dubas when he was an AGM with how Ryan Johnson got his brand new contract last year, and how he would guess that if Rutherford had his way, he would recommend Ryan Johnson for the job. This does align as well with what we had heard, how Vancouver would not grant other teams the opportunity to talk to Ryan Johnson. This also does strike a bit of a chord when you hear the other reporting going on that said that Ryan Johnson might not be an easy sell on this ownership group. Even if Jim Rutherford wants that guy as the GM, I'm not too sure if it's easy for ownership to accept that decision. It seems like ownership clearly does value prestige and what the resume looks like, the body of work, either by name or by actual general managing value. Ryan Johnson, of course, would be another rookie general manager, but the fact that he has built such a good system in Abbotsford, I do think, puts himself in a very good spot. Great communicator, good team guy, and somebody that knows how to take the best out of your young talent and process that for the long term. Friedman then brings up Sam Ventura again, of the Buffalo Sabres, a guy who, by the way, is watching that Sabres team do some pretty good work in the NHL playoffs at the moment. He is the current director of analytics. I'd say the Sabres, being one of the best teams in the league, definitely has a positive reflection of how their analytics department is going, and especially with how we saw them win yesterday. I mean, it's awesome in Buffalo right now. Friedman brings up Ventura again, but also that they are interested in candidates who are young and have gone through a rebuild before in order to show ownership what it's like and what to expect. Now, is that really, possible? A guy who is young and a guy who happens to have gone through a rebuild successfully, mind you? I mean, Sam Ventura, you can say, this is a guy who was a part of the Buffalo Sabres ever since 21-22. Okay, so he's been with them for a while. He was with Rutherford in Pittsburgh and Alvin, so there's a pretty nice connection too. But yeah, Buffalo was pretty bad in 21-22, right? You can say that Sam Ventura, at 38 years old, has already gone through some sort of a rebuild, at least the second half of it. We know that Buffalo was rebuilding for an entire half-decade's worth of time before this, but it doesn't change the fact that Ventura technically was there. Not in the driver's seat necessarily, but as a prime analytics guy. Not sure about ownership being ready for this, though, but that the league trend has been to go with new GM candidates. Toronto and Nashville both had a list of candidates full of new candidates, and that, for Aquilini familiarity, is what they have gone with previously. So, as we had mentioned, Aquilini has gone with guys that we understand their body of work, guys that have had a long tenure, like Jim Rutherford, guys who bring value with their name alone, not necessarily guys with a fresh, hot, new, young body of work to dive into in the future. Friedman's guess is that we find out a draft lottery position first before naming a new GM. He would expect the Canucks to ask candidates what they would do at each of the possible draft positions. I like that a lot, actually. Hey, we're not just going to hire whomever. What happens if Vancouver drafts 1? What happens if they draft 2? What happens if they draft 3? Who are you taking? Are you taking Chase Reed, Verhoff, Stenberg, McKenna? What's going on there? It does seem like Aquilini would be very interested in Gavin McKenna. So, as long as you say that, maybe that's the right choice. Comments are mixed. Top comment says, I still want a president of hockey operations, someone who will be a buffer between the GM and ownership. I want Aquilini as far away as possible from this new GM. I do also hope the same, right? Like, Ryan Johnson is a rookie general manager, for example. You don't want that guy having the owner all up in his ear telling him what to do and what kind of players to go after. Just let the guy do his job. Aquilini, you're a businessman. Your job is to manage the companies that you own, the Overwatch teams that you own, the restaurants that you own. Your job is not operating a hockey team in a league that, if given the chance, they would eat you alive. You're not a hockey person at an executive level. Sure, you could be a fan. Sure, you want the team to succeed. But don't run the team yourself. Don't influence them to do whatever it is that you want. Let them run their process. And now they're going to rebuild because you were meddling too much. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elliotte Friedman's 32 Thoughts update on the Canucks GM search? And what are your thoughts upon learning this new information? What names stand out to you the most? And where do your interests lie personally with whom it is the Vancouver Canucks inevitably hire? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.